The physical hunger of living beings is basically centered around their bodily needs. As their sole intention is the crude enjoyment of matter, all their crude and psychic functions move towards matter, making subtle ideation impossible. Undeveloped animals, being totally preoccupied with meeting their crude necessities, only have one propensity, the gratification of physical needs. Thus it is very easy to understand their psychology. Intellectually developed human beings only use some part of their minds for material pursuits. The rest is used for subtle pursuits. If such a people undergo greater psychic clash, psychic movement towards subtlety will increase. The mind's capacity of subtle ideation will also increase spontaneously. Generally, part of the mind is attracted by the material world, and part by the spiritual world. This results in tremendous mental clash, causing divergences in the mental flow. These divergences are nothing but the various propensities of mind. Thus, the more the intellect awakens, the greater the number of propensities, and the greater the diversity in a human mind, the more difficult it is to comprehend that mind. Thus, it is very difficult to understand the psychology of developed human beings, but quite easy to understand the psychology of people who run after crude physical enjoyment like mad dogs, because they are no better than animals. When intellect evolves into intuition, human beings realize that the cause of the varied expressions of this quinquil mental world is the supreme entity. They consolidate their innate propensities, vrittis, and channelize them towards that singular entity. Hence, the gradual unfoldment of intuition leads to a corresponding increase in the number of vrittis. Ultimately, there remains only one propensity, the propensity of bliss, ananda vritti. Intuition is sometimes called hridaya or guha in Sanskrita, dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam. The essence of dharma lies in intuition. Here guha does not mean a mountain cave, but intuition. Just as there is only one propensity in the crudest stage of mind, similarly in the last stage of pratisanchara, after the development of intuition, there remains only one propensity, the propensity of bliss. The crude mind, chitta, remains engrossed in the thought of crude matter. When intellect is associated with the crude thought of matter, it helps the crude mind in controlling the material world, thus enhancing its scope of enjoying the physical world. The part of intellect which helps the crude mind in the creator of material science. Material science is virtually unknown to undeveloped creatures and animals. It has advanced proportionally to the development of human intellect. Inborn instincts play a more important role in animals than acquired knowledge, even if they do have some practical knowledge of material science. But in the case of human beings, acquired knowledge plays a more important role. If human beings pursue the path of material science without basing their lives on a spiritual ideology, the constant psychophysical parallelism will result in a 100% possibility of their intellect being degenerated into crude mind. Thus I am constrained to say that if material sciences deny spirituality, it may be instrumental in causing a major calamity to befall the world at any time. When intellect associates itself with the material sphere, material science develops. But when it functions within the psychic sphere, it formulates philosophy. Philosophy emerges at the point where the crude mind ends and intellect begins. Excessive philosophical study makes a person a logician and creates vanity and confusion in the mind. Moreover, philosophy is a creation of the intellect. Its confabulations and ruminations are confined to the realm of intellectuality. It is hardly able to step beyond the intellectual realm and is thus unable to attain Paramapurusha. When the mind transcends the barriers of intellect, the realization dawns in human beings. that they cannot reach the abode of the Supreme Entity through material science or philosophy, but through intuition alone. Supreme blessedness lies in the unfoldment of intuition. Those who are graced with intuition, even though they may be totally illiterate, can reach the supreme rank, thereby establishing themselves in a state of perennial blessedness. The greatest pandits, however, become lost in the labyrinth of logic, and even though they try to find a way out, they finally attain nothing. Margar Sirsha Purnima 1959 DMC Ranchi